different age.
Yeah, here is different age level, K2, K3. There are 3 levels.
Were you trained to handle this kind of age group? Did you study education too?
Yes, I did. I did a course, a diploma course.
For the younger one, it's hard to...
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite demanding.
Yeah.
Did you ever experience the whole class
Do you have-
going to
do you
the
have one more?
washroom?
Yeah.
Just this one.
I have. I one substitute for my younger sister. And then I don't know, I thought that I forgot that they are so young and they can, so I was writing a Chinese character in the blackboard, and I thought they can write like the way we wrote, no? And you know, Chinese, so many words, so many lines, right?
Strokes and lines.
So I found out, I said, how come they are so slow? I forgot that they are young.
Yeah,
I then, yes, and then there's a boy who said, teacher, I want to go, 老师, he said, yeah, I want to go to the toilet. I said, okay. I said, how come you don't know how to go? Oh, the teacher has to bring them. So I brought him, okay. And then the whole class, I want to go to the toilet. The whole class went to the toilet. And then the teacher was, the principal came running. Who is handling this class? And of course I am handling this class.
No idea.
Oh, this is mine. It's okay, no?
Yeah, doesn't matter. Okay, so let's see what we want to get out of the class. Are you comfortable?
Yes.
Yeah, will it be too?
Are we waiting for someone?
No. This is it. We're just waiting
Small
for you.
class.
Yeah. Very intimate. Very good for learning.
This is the course.
Yeah.
I'm very interested to see that this V transfer, what that is.
Well,
Um,
the vital trance,
Yeah.
vital trance is the combination of NLP and traditional hypnosis and energy work. So what we're doing is we're using a model in dealing with children. We're using a model that, first of all, they're a group of behaviors. Second of all, they're energy. So we're approaching them in using both of those at the same time. That's what the concept of V-trance is. See, traditionally, the people in the NLP world tend to be very scientific, and the people in the energy world tend to be kind of out there, energy and, very mystical. And what we do is we bring them both together. So that is the concept. So, I'm sorry, what's your name? V. Just
V-E-E.
That's not right. That's not my real name.
Oh. Do you want to use your real name?
It's really long. It's Vabhavi.
Vabhavi.
Yeah, that's right.
Vabhavi. Okay. Like V with vapor in the front.
V-E-E.
Vabhavi.
Yeah, the spelling is not
I know.
Wait.
That's how to pronounce it.
It's got to stick in my
yeah,
brain.
Right.
So, and
Vabhavi,
you've met Annette, so everybody's family now. Okay, so one thing that you'd like to understand how that applies, okay, we'll definitely get to that. How about yourself?
Me, I don't know. I know what I want, but I don't know what exactly I want. Because I'm a teacher and I have a lot of problems dealing with children because most of the time actually they are in a very naughty mood. They always
Right.
get naughty and sometimes they get out of and it gets very chaotic.
What age range are you dealing with mostly?
4 to 6 years old.
4 to 6. Oh, that's very challenging.
So I just want to know how to control them. It's not about controlling them, but how to influence them. So, so that they like my lesson, like what I'm teaching them, get interested, more interested, and just enjoy the class.
Okay.
But they shouldn't get married, They're just enjoying the class.
So enjoy the class. Okay. Anything else?
At the moment, no.
Okay. Well, as things
That's
come up.
yeah.
Annette, do you have anything to add?
Well, I'm not teaching. I'm
Right.
mostly. I mean, I sometimes work as an ESA, but I'm not the one who has to hold the class together.
Right.
Alright.
I'm the one who has to take them to the toilet.
Right.
But I'm dealing with my own 3 boys.
Mhm.
They're quite active and challenging, but also a lot of fun.
Mhm.
And I seem to. I tried this technique that we, with repeating the same
Right.
thing in the same tone, not getting emotionally involved and so on. But sometimes I stand there and talk to a door, open the door, I mean, and they can
Right.
and we're way beyond 30 times, repeating it. And, I'm probably not stopping them at the point.
You're probably not.
I'm not
Stubborn.
persistent
Yeah,
enough.
Okay.
But especially with the older one who's a real teenager now and has love problems and I don't know what and hormones flying around and I seem to get too caught up in his emotional turmoil and I get upset, I mean some of the behavior, I mean they're not so bad when they're smaller,
Right.
it's and I can sort of ignore that to a certain point, but then when he still haven't done it after 2 hours or starts his homework 11 o'clock at night and he ought to be in bed or things like that.
Right.
And he has to do the homework, he just sort of start at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
And it seems to rub off a little bit on the younger ones.
Right. Of course, the older one is always going to influence because, well, if my brother is getting away with something,
exactly.
that means
I can do it too.
that behavior becomes okay for the younger ones.
Yeah.
And, once they start experimenting with what their boundaries are, then of course they're going to expand a little bit more, and then the next one will take from there and expand even further.
Yeah.
So it becomes a very interesting challenge. Okay, so 3 girls. Okay, so what you're looking for is a little guidance, especially with the older one.
Especially with the older one, yes.
Right. Okay.
Because if he's sort of in a bad mood, he is what you would call an ADHD boy. He's wonderful, he's larger than life himself, very generous, but always on the go, sort of. And if he's in a bad mood and if he wants the attention, he's sure to get it.
Right.
Good attention or bad attention, as long as he gets it. And he can take the whole energy out of the... And if he's in a bad mood, the whole family is sort of in a bad mood. Because he will start picking on the next one. And
sounds like he's driving the bus.
I'm trying not to let him. And he can be soft as butter if I have him one-on-one. But as soon as his dad is at home or that he feels that the others get more attention, then he can't, for some reason, for whatever reason, he'll just act out. And it's really close to being dangerous, some of the stuff he does.
Like, what do you mean by dangerous? Like he's gonna hurt himself or hurt someone else?
Until now it's mostly been his middle brother.
Mhm.
You know, like holding him almost over. We moved to 7th floor. We used to live in a house before, not that that was better actually, but holding his little brother sort of halfway over the balcony. And he wouldn't let him drop, and he's extremely strong, but you know, just the thought of it was enough, of course,
Right.
that I got scared and told him off, you know, so they probably could hear it all the way to...
Like outside the window here?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't need to yell at me, you know, and then it starts.
Right.
And I get to part of it, because I only yell at you because, you know, you did this.
Mhm.
Stupid, but...
Okay, so a little bit of this is going to be a review because V wasn't here for the first part,
No,
but it's
that's all
going to
right.
be some reinforcement
Yeah.
of some of the things we've done. So, in the basics of something called NLP, now what NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. So we're going to learn a little bit of basics. Have you ever heard anything about that? Have you ever done any studying of
Yes, I
that?
did.
Oh, so
Couch.
did you do walking on
Some
fire and
exercises,
everything?
yes, I did.
Yeah, really? So you've done a fire walk? So actually, then you're quite far along. So you did the thing with the fingers and like how specifically, what specifically?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You hold that emotion.
Yeah. Good. Okay.
It's a long time back, actually.
Yeah. How far back?
4 years ago.
4 years. Oh, that wasn't too far. So you don't remember which?
What's that?
How much, too much, too expensive?
This one's a bit different actually. This one? What's that? This one? This one?
Two hands, well, our
With 2 hands.
Yeah.
I didn't know this. I don't know this one. What's that?
What did he teach?
I don't really remember. It's just like, you know, it's kind of all the happy emotions, all the happy memories.
Oh,
you're
those
having. And
anchors.
you just like anchor
Anchors.
this, like
Right.
anchoring. And you just put into your
So
finger or
he
whatever.
didn't do the specificity
No,
model?
I didn't.
Okay. Well, do you want to practice that a little more, Annette?
Yeah,
Or-
that
or
wouldn't harm at all.
do you want to, you want to skip that part?
No, I mean, it wouldn't harm me to
Okay,
practice
good.
it against.
Because this is one of the most important tools, this is a very important tool in dealing with children and also in dealing with students. So that's, so do we have a blank piece of paper to make a little outline of V's hand here?
Well, you can use this one.
It's easier to have it on
You
the
need
same
both.
page.
of them,
Yeah.
don't you?
Well, if you'd like to put it
Do I
on
need-
your,
I don't
that's
need to-
fine. Okay. Okay, here, you just outline each hand. No, she's going to use her book.
good
Okay.
idea.
Okay, and the other hand. Good. Okay. So now what you write over them is this is nouns. Okay, just write right over the top because you're going to have your hand there. It's a little easier. Nouns. And this is verbs. And this is, wait a minute. Oh, okay, yeah.
Too much.
Too much, too many, too expensive. And this is,
Shouldn't, couldn't, must not. Oh,
yeah.
The
Can't.
Leave, right.
okay, sorry, I put too much in it.
No, that's fine. Shouldn't, she writes nice and small, so she could put the whole Bible in there. Must not, can't. Okay? And the thumb is universals.
universe.
Okay? Now on this side, we have for the thumb, universals,
We
always,
have
every,
always,
never.
every, never.
Always. Question.
Questions, yeah.
Always. Never.
Right. Always, every, never.
Yeah.
And for nouns, it's who or what specifically. And verbs, it's how specifically. And for too much, too many, too expensive, compared to what? And couldn't, shouldn't, mustn't, can't, what causes or prevents you?
What causes?
What causes or prevents?
Yeah.
Yeah,
What causes?
yeah.
Or
What
prevents.
causes or prevents?
You
Causes or prevents.
What would happen if you did?
from
Okay, so now this is how it works. Ruby, you work with Annette, with the hands, okay? So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna touch your fingers, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna link the fingers to these things, to these words and phrases. And the way we're gonna do it is you're gonna watch me touch your finger, and then you're gonna read this. Okay? And we're just going to do it over and over again until when I touch this finger, it's anchored in nouns. And it's anchored in verbs. And you don't have to think about it, it'll just happen. Okay? So we're going to take a couple minutes and do that. Okay? So,
nouns,
Nouns. Nouns.
universals, verbs.
Universal.
Too many,
Nouns.
too much, too
Verbs.
expensive.
Too much, too
Shouldn't,
many, too
couldn't,
expensive.
mustn't, can't.
Verbs.
Universals,
Nouns.
nouns.
don't close your eyes yet.
Nouns.
Okay? Because I want you to continue building the memory. Then we'll start
Too
testing
much,
later.
too many, too
Verbs.
expensive. Shouldn't,
Couldn't,
couldn't, must
shouldn't,
not,
must not,
can't.
can't. Universal. Nouns.
Too many, too much,
Verbs.
too expensive.
Nouns. Verbs.
Verbs.
Nouns. Verbs.
Nouns.
Too much, too many, too
Universals.
expensive.
Nouns.
Shouldn't, couldn't,
Verbs.
must not, can't.
Verbs.
Too much, too many, too expensive.
Nouns.
Too much,
Verbs.
too many, too expensive.
Nouns.
Couldn't, shouldn't,
Verbs.
must not, can't.
Too many, too much, too
Verbs.
expensive.
Too much, too many,
Couldn't,
too
shouldn't,
expensive.
must not, can't.
Nouns. Verbs.
Verbs.
Universal.
Too many, too much,
Couldn't,
too
shouldn't, must
expensive.
not, can't.
Shouldn't, couldn't, must
Universal.
not, can't.
Couldn't,
Nouns.
shouldn't, must not, can't.
Universals.
Too much, too many, too expensive.
Verbs.
Okay. Now we're going to go into
Nouns.
this.
Too
Okay.
much, too many, too expensive.
Can you read that?
Shouldn't,
Okay.
couldn't, must not, can't.
Always, every, never.
Yeah, I think so.
Who or what specifically? How specifically? Compared to
Always,
what?
every, never.
What causes occurrence?
Who or what
Which-
specifically?
What would
How
What would
specifically?
happen if you did? Yeah, you
Compared
could just
to what?
say what causes or prevents, you could skip that
What
one. just to
causes
make
or
it-
prevents you from doing or
What
saying
causes occurrence? Compared to what?
compared to
What
what?
causes occurrence?
How
How
specifically?
specifically? Who or what
Who or
specifically?
what specifically?
How specifically?
Always,
How specifically?
every, never.
Nouns.
Who or what
Who
specifically?
or what specifically?
How specifically?
Verbs.
Compared to what?
How specifically? Universal.
What is
Always and
Pre-
never.
what causes or prevents you from
Couldn't,
doing
shouldn't,
or
must
saying?
not, can.
Compared to what?
What causes
specifically?
occurrence?
Who or what specifically?
Too much, too many,
Always,
too
every,
expensive.
never.
Compared to what?
Who or what specifically?
Verbs. How specifically?
Always, every, never.
Noun.
How
Who or what
specifically?
specifically? Universal.
Who or what
Always,
specifically?
every.
How
Noun.
specifically?
Who or what
Who
specifically?
or what specifically?
Nouns.
How
Who or what
specifically?
specifically?
Compared to what?
Verbs.
How
How specifically?
specifically?
Compared
Too
to
much,
As-
too many, too expensive.
Um,
Compared to what?
what causes or prevents you from
Couldn't, shouldn't, must not,
going,
can't.
doing same? Yeah.
What causes or
Compared to what?
prevents? What causes or prevents?
Okay,
What causes or prevents you from
So-
doing same? How specifically?
we could practice a little more later.
practice.
But
Good.
this is, okay, now put your hands together. Okay? Now what's happening is, once you get these fingers properly wired, so that when, and it takes about 15 to 20 minutes of practice for it to get wired that this is always going to be nouns. And this is always going to be who or what specifically, right? This is what?
Verbs and nouns.
How specific? Too much, too many, too expensive? Who or what specifically?
No,
Compared to what?
right?
Couldn't, shouldn't, must not, can't. What causes or prevents?
And finally,
Universal, ever.
always, every, never.
every, never.
Now, in shaping behavior, right, the first step is to get people to be specific. Because a lot of times when you have somebody who wants to do something, they just have this desire, this energy that wants to go forward. And basically, when they're not following along, right, they're kind of making their own way and they're causing trouble, they're going outside of where they should go. It's because they're not being very specific with what they want. You know, they're just acting out. So like, you know, somebody say, everyone's bothering me. And then everyone is a universal. So you say, everyone? Everyone? Right? So then when someone fires off a universal, like, everyone's bothering me, then you can say, everyone? And get them to be specific. Because what happens in behavior is people generalize. Okay? It's called chunking up and chunking down. So let's take a look at what chunking up and chunking down is. When you chunk up, you get more general, and when you chunk down, you get more specific. Did Tony teach that? Does that sound a little bit? Okay, doesn't matter. Okay, so we're just going to forge ahead. So chunking up and chunking down. So for example, what is this?
It's a
Aeroplane.
teamwork.
Okay. Now, chunk up.
You have to tell the details.
It's a porcelain teacup with
No,
a...
that's chunking down. That's more.
Oh, that, oh,
So
sorry.
we're chunking up is getting more general.
More
chunking
general.
down
Oh,
is
sorry,
getting
then
more
I got
specific.
it wrong.
Okay.
It's a vessel.
It's a cup of tea.
Yeah.
So this is a mug,
The mug.
right? So if we chunk up, we're going to get more general. So when you go from mug to more general, what would it be?
Container?
Cup.
Drinking vessel.
A container, a drinking vessel, right? That's very general. Okay, and what if you want to get even more general?
Top. Something to hold something.
Something that holds something? No, that's what we're looking for. Okay?
That's sometimes the answer, you know, when you can't remember things, you
Yeah.
know, that thing where you put...
Exactly.
So it's very general.
So this is something for eating, right? It's
Something for drinking.
something for drinking. It's a
It's
container,
more general.
right? So you know it's more general. So then let's get more specific. Let's chunk
A
down.
mug with water.
It's a mug. It's got
Water.
something in it, and it has some writing on it. It has a
Surrounding.
color.
Cheers.
It has a certain shape. It has a handle. So
It's
there's
porcelain or
so we could be
ceramic or, yeah.
right. So we could be more specific. Okay, so it's porcelain, but what type of porcelain is it? Now I don't know, but or there's a picture on it. Well, what specifically is the picture? You see? So you know, I mean, if I said hand me the mug, you'd say which mug specifically?
Mm.
You know, which one? That's a noun. You know, which one? who or what specifically do you know, like maybe I'll give you the wrong mug and then you'll be upset.
This one, or
Yeah.
specifically?
Right. So it's a noun.
Verbs.
So you say
Which?
who or what specifically.
Yeah.
Who or what
Or
specifically?
what specifically?
Which?
Or which one
Yeah, okay.
specifically. Yeah. You could add that to the list if you want. But I mean, you know, the brain will start to figure out
Yeah.
some extra questions here. Okay? There's too much homework. Compared to what? Right? Oh, that's too much homework. Compared to what? Now, what happens inside the brain is when someone asks a question like that, the brain, see, the brain builds these general statements. That's too much. That's too many. That's too expensive. Right? But this is just like a belief off to the side that's not being really examined. Okay? Once you examine it, then you open the file and you retest it. And that's what we're getting people to do. We're actually accessing some of their belief and behavior structures directly by using this model. Okay? So when someone says, everyone's bothering me, and you say, everyone? And then you might say, who specifically? And it says, well, not everyone. Okay, then who specifically is bothering you? Well, you know, some of the students. Who specifically? Which student? Or which group of students? How specifically are they bothering you? So here you're taking somebody complaining that, you know, everything is terrible. Because they've just taken a bad situation and they've just taken that situation and painted it over the whole day. Right? And by the way, what children and students will always do is they will always try to control the parents. They will always try to be the pack leader. Okay, both in the classroom and also in the home.
The teacher or the parent.
Right, the
Yeah.
teacher or
Yeah.
the parent, the authority figure. Okay? It is automatically programmed in children's behavior to try to test and try to be the pack leader. You know, like dogs have packs, right? And they want to be the pack leader, the alpha dog. And if you allow them to do it, okay, they will. It's built into their behavior.
Yeah.
It's
You
not
see
something
that
you could
with my
remove.
dog,
Yeah.
on a regular basis, I really have to get her down and pull her down and really snare at her, and then she'll back off.
Yeah.
She's young, but
Well, with
she
dogs,
will try within.
yeah, with dogs specifically, what you want to do is you want to push them onto their side.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
when they're on their
Yeah.
side, they're submissive.
Yeah,
And they will do what, you know, they'll
Yeah.
stop. They'll stop.
she does.
Yeah.
It's not that she's aggressive, but
But children are the same thing. Children are built in, programmed to try to be the pack leader. And, you know, once that behavior is turned off from other children in the class, then that one person will try to be the pack leader in front of this person. But if you remove that person, now this other person wants to be the pack leader. And the same thing, you know, at home. The older brother is going to try to be the pack leader because that's natural for him to do it. And if he's not there, then the second, and then if he's not there, then the third gets his chance, right? But there's only one pack leader, mommy and daddy, and the teacher. Okay? So that's an important thing to develop in your mind, that you are the pack leader. And it's not something you have to enforce, it's something you have to know in your own self, know in your own mind. Okay? Because if you walk into a classroom and you say, what if they get too upset? What if they get too loud? What if they start getting out of control? Okay? Are you walking into that classroom as the pack leader? Yeah, right.
So what
So,
should we do to be this way?
I'm sorry?
What we have to do?
Okay.
We have to like condition our mind.
Right, right. Well, there's a couple different things we have to do. One thing I'd also like to talk about before we start in with that part of our own conditioning is we have to we have to deal with any parent issues. Okay. Now that might sound a little weird, but when we're dealing with the next step down, we're dealing with the next step up, with the previous step. And what does that mean? For example, if parents, did a lot of yelling and a lot of negotiating and a lot of, like irrational behavior, we tend to carry that forward into our negotiations. Okay? I don't think anyone alive has had perfect parents,
No.
right? Yeah. So, that is an issue that we have to deal with, because in order to exercise these techniques, we have to get ourselves clear and our energy clear. Okay? So here's the steps to do that. First thing you do is you deal with your parent issues. Okay? Now, we're going to go on a little journey. So sit comfortable and put your hands on your knee for a minute there. Okay? So I want you to both take a deep breath. We're just going to go on a little journey into the past. Okay? And this is something that you could do in a more elaborate way on your own and be more general or more specific, as you need to. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to imagine, first of all, take one more deep breath and exhale some of that tension from all those other issues that we don't need to deal with. Okay? Now just relax for a minute and just imagine yourself going back in time, slowly getting younger and younger and younger. You're going back into time to the moment when you first remember your parents doing something that intimidated you or made you afraid or something like that. You're with your parents and they're doing something that's making you uncomfortable. Yelling, whatever it happens to be. And just try to go back to as far back as you could remember. And kind of experience a little bit of that energy, like you're looking at yourself as opposed to you're actually in your body, okay? So it doesn't feel the same way, but you just see what's happening. Okay? Are you there? Good. So you see what's happening, and you have full control of yourself now and yourself then. So what I want you to do is tell that little girl that she's okay, and that it's okay that her parents are showing her love, but in a way that's not so good. Okay? Now, what I want you to do to the parents is I want you to imagine you have a remote control and you point it at the parent and you hit freeze frame. Now mentally, I want you to remove from your parents all that negative yelling energy. Okay? And just leave the love and the care that they have for you. And imagine that they're saying to you in a very nice way, here's what I want you to do. And here's a good way to do it. And they're just very comfortably telling you what to do. Now I know that's not the way you remember it, but now it is a way to remember it. It is one of the ways you could remember how your parents spoke to you. Now I want you to imagine that this change in your parents is now permanent. We've gone back in the past to the first time they yelled at you or did something that made you uncomfortable. And now they're always going to be very specific. They're always going to be calm and direct when they want you to make a change. When you break the milk dish, they say, well, that wasn't a good thing, and here's you're going to have to clean it up now and maybe earn some money to replace it. But accidents happen, so you deal with the consequence. So I want you to go back and imagine your parents are like that. Now, slowly go through your life from when you were young and getting older, and you notice how they're different. You notice how they're different. In things, you're reviewing some of your old memories now. And you're noticing how your parents are acting differently towards you. They're clear, they're direct, they tell you what they want you to do. And you feel that wonderful connection, and you almost want to make those changes to your own behavior because it's such an easy thing to do to be around these new parents. And I want you to see yourself going through school and having those supportive, helpful, direct and clear parents. And going through school and finishing school and coming right up to now. You have this new memory now that your parents were clear, direct, specific, and always loving. And I want to make a suggestion that when you're sleeping tonight and you're reviewing some of these memories, and you continue to do this work, as you review old memories where you thought your parents were yelling at you, you now remember it differently. And it's so nice to know that you can have those new memories. And your subconscious mind is going to help me a little bit, because tonight when you sleep, you're going to be doing some more of that work of rebuilding those memories. Kind of like in a computer, when you recompile a program, you make a little change and then you recompile, and it links back to all those memories. All those memories seem different in a way that's comfortable. And you can just have those new memories, and when you're ready, just come all the way back and open your eyes. And you can take all the time you need in the next 30 seconds to just take a nice, deep, refreshing breath, and just to feel so comfortable. Coming all the way back now, open your eyes and feel yourself in your body. There we go. That's right. Now, how did that feel?
I felt like I didn't have enough time to go through all of the episodes or
And let me tell you
situations.
something very interesting. You ever notice that when you can't remember the name of a singer or the name of someone, and 3-4 days later it just pops into your head? You can rest assured that your subconscious mind is still doing that work now, even while we're working together. And you can take some time before you go to sleep tonight and just comfortably go back and review some of those memories and enjoy the process, because it's a great process.
You said something that you always had. They were precise. No, not precise.
Your parents are loving, clear, and direct
Right.
when they want you to do something. So the first process in learning how to influence other people's behavior is fixing our parents. Once we fix our parents, now we have, even though we just made it up, it doesn't matter. The brain doesn't know the difference between when you make up a memory and when you actually had a memory. Okay? For example,
Mine is kind of difficult to comprehend.
really? Okay.
I know of this concept.
Okay. Well,
It's like
remember the time that you and I were at that old restaurant and you were wearing a green dress? You know that old restaurant, from back home? You know the restaurant I'm talking about, right?
Back on what? England?
Yeah. You know that there's that old restaurant, that they used to go to a lot. And you were wearing a green dress that day and we were having dinner. Now you could have that memory, even though it's a created memory, and later on I'll say, what color dress were you wearing when we were having dinner in India? And you'll say, well, it was green. And if we started talking about that, you might have more and more of that memory of that green dress in that restaurant. And and 5 years later, you might be walking by the restaurant and see yourself there wearing the green dress. Why? Because when you create a memory, it's at least as powerful as what really happened. And as you add details, you make it more powerful.
So why should we have all these new memories? Why should we create them?
Well, what you're creating is parents who are clear and precise and direct. Because once you have that resource of having those parents, now you automatically know how to behave when you're then being the pack leader with your team. Okay? You're now taking this resource that you're created and you're using that resource, because a lot of people, when they're reading this, the brain is a filter and says, well, this is telling me to behave in a certain way, but that's not how I remember it. That's not what my parents did with me. No, they did. See what I mean? Now, as you go back and edit those memories, you have a resource that will feel comfortable, not just comfortable, but it will feel automatic. Because now you know to be clear, precise, direct. And by precise, I mean using these. Like, don't always do this. When we're giving our children instructions, and students, we say specifically what we want them to do. Okay? Okay? Everybody sit down. Okay? Or stop doing that. Well, stop doing that. No one can stop doing anything. Okay? They could change what they're doing. So always be clear what you want them to do. So if you see somebody holding somebody else over a ledge, you say, put him down and walk over here. And if you say it in a very clear way, now children are programmed to try to be the alpha. They try to be the pack leader. That's their programming. Until they recognize that you are the pack leaders, they will continue to try to be the pack leader. So the first time it may not work. So you have to be very clear and very direct, because up until now, you may not have been being clear and direct. Okay? So there's a lot of things that children do. They negotiate, they bargain, they yell and scream. So what we want to do is we want to be very clear and very precise of what we want them to do. Not what we want them to stop doing, what we want them to do. Always focus on the destination. Always focus on the destination. So I'd like to review Sailing the Life of the Sea, because this is part of the structure of what we're doing. Okay? So, Sailing the Life Sea. There are many sailors out there, and by sailors I mean just normal people living. I teach a sailing class back in New York, and I teach it for corporations, and it's team building and life coaching using the metaphor of sailing. But they actually learn how to sail. I mean, we teach sailing safety and all these other things. And they're sort of subconsciously getting all this other information about their life, which is very powerful. Because when you know you're getting the information, then you can sometimes filter it. When you're getting it just built into your nervous system, as Tony would say, then it becomes natural for this new behavior to take over. Okay? So there are many sailors out there who, when the wind shifts, they start complaining about the wind shifting. Now when you're in a sailboat and you're out there, what's going to happen? The wind is going to shift. It's part of sailing. Just like in life, when you're doing
Yeah, but
something.
you can be on the right side of the course or on the...
Yes, well, you're talking about racing.
The solution is we have
Yeah, okay,
challenges,
yeah.
Yeah,
and she's talking about the solution, like how should we face the challenges? How should we work on that?
well, the point is that we know the wind is going to change, and that's why the sails are adjustable. So years ago, the sails were just these big billowy things, and they couldn't adjust that much. And the boats could only sail certain courses. So they've learned over the years to make those sails more adjustable and more configurable. So we could sail into the wind, we could sail with the wind abeam or, you know, on the 90 degree, and we can also sail with the wind behind us. Which do you think is the fastest way to sail? With the wind in front, to the side, or pushing it along? To the side. Because imagine your finger is pushing a watermelon seed, right? A watermelon seed, you know, do you have watermelon on this planet? Yeah? Okay.
Yes, we do.
Okay, well, I just want to be sure. Okay, so when you push a watermelon seed, it goes the same speed as your finger, okay? But when you push down on it, it goes, phew, right? When you push down on a watermelon seed, instead of it going the same speed of your finger, it goes very fast across the room, right? That's because it's like a wedge, right? So for the 1 inch, or for the quarter inch that your finger is going down, it's moving its length. So your finger is going this speed, but it's moving this speed, right? So like imagine that this is a wedge. It goes from here to here, right? So as I push down this distance, this is moving the whole way. So this is moving twice the speed. Okay? A sail works like a wedge because we're using that difference in air to move forward. And the faster we're moving forward, the faster the wind seems to be. You know, in fact, ice sailing is the fastest, and an ice boat is the fastest sailing that there is because there's almost no friction and there's very good stability. And ice boats will go upwards of 160 kilometers per hour.
Scary.
Yeah. Very scary, very, very fast.
So what it has to do with this one?
So, the point is that when we are learning and we're experiencing life, we have to adjust the sails. Okay? So, let's look at the whole example. First of all, you have to know your destination. You have to know your outcome. Know what you want. Right? When you're about to sail somewhere, the first thing you need to do is find out where you're going to go. The second thing is you have to learn specifically where you are now. Okay? And know your destination. Once you get there, you have to know the port. You have to know what resources will be there. And you also have to know from here to there, what is it like? You know, where are the rocks, so I could steer up around them? You know, what are the winds most likely going to be doing? Are they going to be very strong or very gentle? Because if they're gentle, then I use one type of sail. If they're strong, then I use another sail. Okay? Know the boat and the sea. Know what's going to be around you and know yourself. Okay? Trim the sails and steer the tiller. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And there are some people out there who say, you know, who try the same thing with their students or with their children, and they try the same thing, and they try the same thing, you know, they yell and scream, and they wonder why it's not working. So they yell and scream some more, and louder, and it's still not working.
Yeah, because it's very frustrating.
It's very frustrating. It is. And the last thing is energy. Communing with the sea. Now what does that mean? Aside from trimming your sails as you're getting to your destination, And aside from knowing where the rocks are, and if the current's taking us this way, we have to notice that and steer the opposite direction. If the winds are shifting, we have to trim the sails. If they shift again, we trim the sails again. That's what sailors do. Okay, as things in life are changing and reacting to what we're doing, we have to then react back. Unfortunately, sometimes people have certain behaviors and they get stuck in them, and they have the sail trimmed in all the way because they're told trim in the sail, trim in the sail. So they're trimming until the sail's all the way in. They're not moving, and they don't know why. Well, I guess the wind has died. Okay, and I've seen, in teaching sailing, I've seen this happen a million times. Like I say, well, trim the sails in and then let them out, and then let them in and then let them out. But some people, they're a little nervous, everyone's watching, so they trim the sails in, they trim them in more, and they're still not going anywhere. And they say, well, I guess there's no wind. And meanwhile, you see another boat going really fast, and you see all these flags going, and everything is moving around, and you say, well, I guess there's no wind. Well, how is that possible? So by noticing what's around you, and then having the flexibility, let the sail all the way out, okay? And then trim it in a little bit. And then let it out again if necessary, trim it a little bit. To always be able to take small steps in the direction you want to go, and you'll get there. Sometimes you can't take a big step. Sometimes you're not going to get your children to stop on the computer right away. It might take patience and time. But the first change is in us. And by changing us, what we're doing is we're going back and changing our parents and the example that they've created for us. That's the very first step. Create the change in our parents so that we have an excellent example. Because the brain will automatically go back to that situation. So now when it automatically goes back to that situation, it has a choice. It can choose one behavior that our parents did, or it can choose a nicer behavior that our parents did. Okay? So, in a panic situation, like somebody beeps the horn at you, you can step back, you can freeze, you can jump forward, right? What you're going to do in that situation depends partly on what worked in the past. So if in the past you always jump forward when the horn goes, and that always worked for you, you might jump forward without really paying attention to what's going on this time. So what we're doing is we're creating automatic choices for you that are different from the ones you had before. Okay? So that's why it's such an important step. And I trust both of you are going to do some concentration or meditation and consciously continue that part, even though subconsciously it's already going on now. I'd like you to consciously work on that a little bit before you go to sleep tonight, or maybe when you wake up tomorrow, wake up a little bit early and just do it a little, right in that dream state when you've just woken up, and you have a little dreams, and you might have some interesting dreams about these new parents and how nice it was growing up with them and things like that. And whether you do or not, just take a little more time to visit some of those other memories and just experience the changes in those memories and how comfortable that is. Because the more memories you revisit and reconstruct and now remember, the more powerful you will be in classroom and in front of, in front of children. So that's the first step, is reparenting ourselves. Okay? Second step, as we said, is using the specificity model. Okay? And you know your outcome. You want them to do a certain thing. Okay? So, for example, if the energy is starting to get out of control, right? Commune with the sea. You know your own energy, right? So the problem is, when someone wants to lead, right, and they start getting rambunctious energy, everyone else starts following along. And what happens in you? You follow along too, don't you? So who's the pack leader? You? Well,
I am the pack leader when I'm strict with them, you know, when I'm strict with them.
but my
they
point
listen
is
to me.
when they're starting to go off track, like you said, one of your outcomes is you want to enjoy the class, and when things get out of control, you want to be able to get them under control. So if you're getting angry inside, you're not leading them the direction that you want them to
Yes,
go.
of course.
Okay? So, commune with the sea. Focus on your energy for a second. When things are getting out of control, take a moment for yourself to know where you want to be. And then let that energy extend out to the class. Say, listen everyone, we're going to be calm now. We're going to make a new choice. We're going to be calm. And we're going to find out what the problem is in a really comfortable, relaxed way. And they might be yelling and screaming, and the more you focus your energy of being calm and focused, you become the leader in going a new direction, and people will start to follow you. It may only be a couple students in the beginning. Then it'll be more, then it'll be more. Just like in the opposite case, when some of the children are going off and getting rambunctious and starting a fight and yelling at each other, and then more and more people start to follow along with that energy. Because in a classroom, just like in a home, the one person's energy is going to influence the rest. So you have to be the influencer. So know your destination, know your outcome, and be flexible to adjust the sails. So adjust what's happening in you. We've already fixed what's happening from our past with the parents. We fixed that. And it's going to get even better over time. Now, fix how you're seeing the situation. Here's a very powerful thing that you both can do. I want you to... Was estás? Ah, that's interesting. Okay, now try this. Now I want you to see your children, your class, whatever. You can choose to see a class, you can choose to see children, whatever way you want to mix and match, it doesn't matter. Now I want you to see them, and you feel things are kind of getting out of hand, right? Okay? And just put yourself into that position. Somebody's causing a little disturbance and you're doing something else, you can keep your eyes open. Now I want you to see that class, and I want you to make a change in yourself. I want you to imagine that there's a very, very powerful radio transmitter coming out of your spine and just getting taller and taller and taller, and it's just this incredibly powerful signal coming out of your body, and everyone stops and looks at it. And you could change the color of what that signal is. You could change the shape of the antenna in any way that you feel is more powerful. Now, this may sound a little crazy, but people can feel when you're doing it. I can feel it. What happens very often, unfortunately, is when these people are getting out of hand, they're triggering things in you. They're triggering your anchors. And when they trigger your anchor, you jump into getting yelled at, being the victim. Maybe your parents or an older brother or sister, or somebody was yelling at you, and you're not in control because you're re-experiencing old anchors. So step one is take a breath and then turn on that transmitter. People can feel energy. People can absolutely feel energy. So what you're going to be doing, the first step is you put this huge antenna coming out of your back, and it's part of your body. And imagine yourself also being 10 times bigger and looking down at the students, looking down at your children. Imagine that energy when you're in the room, even though you haven't said anything, you haven't done anything, you're 10 times bigger, and you have this huge transmitter. And just experience how the room is changing just because you're sending out this signal, everyone listen to me and everyone be calm. Focus on what I want you to do and be calm. So how does that feel? Yeah? Do you think in real life that would make a difference? If you just did that?
In my case, the children get too smart.
Uh-huh.
And they're not listening to, they're not listening to me. So even if I'm doing this exercise in the moment, being helpful.
Mm. You don't think that they can feel energy?
I don't think so.
Really? Children are born telepathic. They're taught later on not to be. They're taught to use language.
What they're feeling. They're not, they're not aware of their own energy. Their feelings are not. They're not going to question because they're just talking, chatting, having fun time. So can they know that I'm really affecting that energy?
Well, this is one.
They're too small.
This is one step. This is one step. And if you do only that step, there will be a difference. You were going to say something in that?
No, but that is because the children sense that you're insecure, that
Right.
you're sort of expecting them to, because I know that when I'm not up to it,
Right,
they know that immediately.
right. And they take advantage of it.
They do.
Right.
It's just.
Yes.
So what people don't really understand is that children are more sensitive to energy than adults. And adults are also sensitive to energy. We did this experiment once with a classroom. And the only difference I made was, in my mind, I put this big transmitter, and my partner did not have the transmitter. Then we'd switch. And would ask people, okay, when we switch, I want you to say who's doing it. We never said what it was. Okay? So we'd ask them who's doing it. And we'd know ahead of time who was going to do what when. And they would know every time. They didn't even know what they were sensing. But they would sense something coming from me first, and then from my partner, and then back to me, and then back to my partner. They'd sense it. Clear as day. Children are much more sensitive to energy than adults are. So if adults get it, children will get it. Okay? If they start getting out of control, I don't care if they're 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, 7, 8, whatever. If they sense you're worried about control, their towers get big. They start getting big because now they are in control because they're making you worry. They have control. Children can sense that better than adults. Adults who are good at manipulating people can sense it faster than children, but that's with a lot of practice. Children naturally will sense it faster than adults. So when you feel the energy of the class is going in the wrong direction, step into the middle of the action and tell everyone, look at me. Why do you want them to look at you? Why?
I want them to be able to enjoy what I'm teaching them.
Okay, but I'm saying when things are getting out of control, okay, that was one of your
I want them
outcomes.
to be knowledgeable.
When,
Stop being challenging.
so the representational systems, right? Visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and energy, okay? If they're in auditory, they're talking. If they're feeling, then they're feeling. But if they're in visual, they're looking. You first have to get them to look. And if they're looking up, they're in picture mode. Their brain just switches over to picture mode. Have you ever seen a little kid crying, looking like this? Never. Kids cry, they're like this. They close their eyes. Why? You close your eyes so you can't see a picture. Okay? People cover their face and go like this in order to cry most of the time. And some people will cry, you know, with just the tears dropping out, you know, like when they're trying to be very stoic and everything. But you can tell that their eyes are not really looking at anything because they're seeing something in their mind. And that's why they're crying. But when people are really getting into the feeling of crying, they have to close their eyes. That's the way the brain is wired. So interestingly enough, if you force someone who's crying to open your eyes and look up, they stop crying. Maybe not instantly, like freeze frame, but almost. And their intensity of the crying and whatever feeling they were having will go from like an 8 or a 9 to a 1 or 2. If you just say, put your shoulders back and look up. Now, you can do that in your classroom. Why? Because they'll think it's a game. They won't know that they're not supposed to do that because it's going to get them out of their state of mind. Everyone, shoulders back and look up. Look at the ceiling. That will instantly stop whatever the pattern that they're stuck in. You see what I mean? When children get into a pattern and they're being naughty and that energy is building and building, right? You have to break the pattern. It's called a pattern interrupt. Okay? And it works in the home. It also works, by the way.
I do know this, see them moving naughty or I just choose and decided let's tap hands together and just
Okay.
for a moment or so they're like, you know,
Right.
they're playing with me, but again
Right.
the situations they're shouting and getting naughty.
Well, the first change you have to make, okay, that's a good tool, but here's the problem. If you do a pattern interrupt, and then you don't follow it up with something, right? Then there's that space, and they're going to use that space to go back to what they were doing. Same thing with hypnosis. There's something called a speed induction, where, you know, I could put you out in a couple seconds. But if I do that, and then I don't follow it up with something, you're just going to open your eyes again. Okay? So, but, you know, if I say, okay, now here's what I want you to do, and I say it over and over again, when you do the pattern interrupt, their mind is open to suggestion. What you do that very next second is critical to getting the result that you're looking for. It's absolutely critical. The pattern interrupt, and to force them into visual, you say shoulders back and look up. Now, what I would suggest, and you could do this with your family as well, you know, make it a game. Shoulders back, look up, and picture yourself, and fill in the blank. And picture yourself X, Y, Z. Whatever you want them to be. Feeling good, feeling relaxed, feeling this and that. You know, like say, imagine you're playing in a park and you stop playing for a minute and you see a beautiful butterfly. Now put your shoulders up and look up and see that butterfly, imagine it on the ceiling. And then you get a word that gets them into that state of mind. Okay? And while they're doing that, maybe you make a sound or snap your finger or something. So that becomes an anchor. You're wiring into their brain an anchor so you can get them into a particular state of mind. Okay? So you're creating a loop. And it's going to be a comfortable, pleasant state of mind for them. So, you know, even like if they're playing and they're, you know, starting to get naughty and things like that, oh, okay, let's do that game again. See what I mean? And then you can start asking questions. What color is your butterfly? And then you create a little competition, but everyone is in their mind making the picture. Okay, so what is that butterfly doing? Okay, what is your butterfly doing? What color is the chairs in your park? You see? And then you get them into visual, so they're not having feelings, and they're not doing action. They're doing visual. They're stuck in their brain doing visual. Then you guide them into the next whatever it is you want them to do. Okay? Same thing with, you know, with your boys. If they're getting stuck into one of their patterns where your older son's name is?
Morton.
Morton. So if Morton is starting to get control and things like that, you might engage him in a memory, in a shared memory. Remember this time. And of course it'll be a memory where he was pleasant and relaxed and things like that. And then you could make a sound, or you could do this. Look, you could do some kind of visual anchor with him. Something that you know he's looking at you.
Yeah.
Okay? So when he's in a certain state of mind, you do this. And then you get him back in that state of mind and do this. He won't know it. It's bypassing the conscious mind. So if a person wants to be naughty, that's a conscious thing, like they're getting into that pattern. And you break the pattern, and then you fire an anchor. And all of a sudden, they're calm again, and they don't even know why. Because an anchor is a very powerful tool to allow someone to get into a specific state of mind very quickly. And I'll give you a perfect example of that. When you hear a certain song, right? Maybe from years ago, you know, you were out with a boyfriend or something, and you know, you heard a song, and it makes you very happy. Or maybe a different song, and you're already thinking of the song, aren't you? Yeah, see? Now look, now you know, I didn't tell you smile and start laughing. But just by accessing that song, it's a huge difference. You see what I mean? So by accessing that song, you're changing your state of mind. Now, like, you know, okay, now just think of something else for a second. Think of your walk here before. Okay? Now, if I say, okay, smile.
I'm smiling.
Right, but it's not the same as before, is when I said think of the song. Then you just were really feeling joy and really feeling
get
happy.
there
Right.
in an instant, you know.
So like, you know, if I tell everybody, okay, everybody feel happy. How do I do that? I'm not happy about anything. But if I access a song or access a feeling or a memory, you could get them to that state of mind very quickly. And by making an association, you're actually creating a remote control for the children. So what you want to do is you want to have a remote control with all the buttons that you want, so you could fire that button and get them into a state. So one state would be relaxed, and maybe breathing a certain way, and you know, everybody really focused on their butterfly experience. So, you know, like, okay, everybody, we're doing butterfly. Okay, let's go. Butterfly, look up and make your butterflies. Okay, everybody, start calling out the colors of your butterfly. Oh, mine's this, mine's this, mine's this, mine's this. And you automatically get them into that state. Okay, now that we've done butterfly again, now we're going to do the next exercise. Now we're going to do the next game. Now we're, whatever it is that, you know, that the next part of that day is going to be. How does that sound? Yeah, okay, good. Now, so first of all, you're going to create, you fixed your parents, so you have this new model. You're going to be clear and loving with them. That's the model that you have. It's accessible all the time. You're going to be clear and loving them, and very direct, and always tell people what you want them to do. Okay? So with Morton, if Morton's doing something you don't want him to do, tell him what you want him to do. Make it always an invitation. If you say, don't do this, immediately he's going to, right?
Oh, stop that. Oh.
Right, stop that. Invite him to do something that's a contradiction to what they're doing. So in your case, it's the butterfly. If they're yelling at each other and they're making a butterfly, they can't yell and make the butterfly at the same time.
But isn't that sort of trying to avoid the problem?
No, because the problem is that whatever they're doing, they're stuck in a loop.
Yeah.
Okay?
I'm
So part of stopping that behavior is interrupting the loop and then giving them a new thing to do. Okay? And once the new thing becomes more normal and more comfortable than the old thing they were doing, the old behavior is going to disappear. Okay? Does that make sense? And that,
yeah.
there's a no. So what's the no part?
The no part is what to offer him, because I have to be quick, right?
Yes.
I have to.
This is like playing chess or playing tennis. You know, when you're playing tennis, you don't think, you know, I wonder if I should run up to the net, or maybe I should just like hit it like way back here and hit it high, or maybe I should, you know,
That's
you're
why
just
I'm
going.
not playing tennis. Okay.
I'm sure there's something that you do.
Yeah,
that
but if I
requires-
trigger another, let's say I say, you know, I sort of get them to stop and that, and get sort of their attention through, and they don't know what I'm doing, but what if I sort of trigger the wrong word? What would we like to have some nice dinner now? No, I'm not hungry. No, because you already ate 2 big boxes of ice cream on the way
Right.
up.
Well,
I mean,
okay, well, okay.
They have already
What
got
do you think?
excuses and you're
Okay,
there.
first of all, what happens if this stuff doesn't work? What do you do?
I'm going to get angry. I'm going to get upset.
Okay,
That's
well,
not
first of
very
all, you're
So
never
first of
going to
all,
get.
we have to
Wait.
control our emotions,
Pause.
right?
Pause. First of all, you're never going to get angry again in front of your students. Never. You're never going to. I am giving you permission. No. Forget about trying. We'll do the try thing in a second. Does try work?
yeah, it does.
No, does try work?
No, try doesn't work. No,
Yeah.
I mean,
Right,
each
right.
steps.
Right.
Okay? If you're approaching the situation, okay, here. Annette's done this, but you can play along too if you want. Put your hand like this. Okay? No. Just on the table. Okay? Okay, now look at me. Now I want you to try to lift your hand.
Yeah.
No, just look or don't look. Look at whatever you want. Try to lift your hand. Okay? Now, put your hand down again. Now, lift your hand. I was telling you basically the same thing to do both times. I said, try to lift your hand, and I said, lift your hand. The only difference was the word try. But how does it feel? Explain to us how it feels to try to lift your hand.
Did you say that? Right.
Hmm?
How do you feel?
I don't know whether
You did notice a difference between try to lift your hand and lift
I
your
didn't
hand.
really observe.
But did
But
you
yes, when you say
feel
try
that your
to-
hand was like heavier or something?
Yeah.
Your hand moved much slower.
Slowly.
Maybe? Okay.
Okay.
Put your hand down.
I
Put your hand down. Listen. Again, I want you to try to lift your hand and notice what your hand is doing. Try to lift it.
I'm just following you actually. Your motion like that.
Okay, well then I won't do anything.
Like how to like that.
Okay, I won't do anything then.
So I'm just-
Try to lift your hand. Okay. Now, wait,
I'm
okay.
being conscious, right?
Now-
And you're like,
Lift your hand. Do you, I see a difference. Do you feel a difference?
yes.
Okay.
Because there is a difference in where you're instructing. Because I'm trying to lift your hand up. You're speaking slow. So I'm like
Okay.
doing it slow.
Try to lift your hand. Now, put it back down. Now lift your hand.
This goes faster.
Now, I didn't change my tone of voice that time,
No
did I?
resistance, you see.
Whenever a person tries to do something, a part of them is saying, but what if he can't? But what if it doesn't work? But what if? So, I'll give you a great example. I also teach skiing, and I was teaching a student who was doing very well, you know, even though she was very, very afraid. Her first ski experience was her friends took her to the top and said, okay, it's very easy, just follow us. She wound up taking off her skis and sliding down on her butt the whole mountain, and she was very upset, she was angry, she was crying the whole way. When we went to go skiing, she was literally shaking at the thought of being at the top again. After about 2 hours, she was very comfortable, she was skiing, she was doing well, and someone skied into her. So I went to, and this person had a personal instructor. He was learning that day also, but he was hitting my student. So I asked the instructor, you know, being polite and being a teacher also, I'm not going to walk into someone else's classroom and start telling my version of things, because maybe she's doing something specific. So I said, may I instruct your student, because I know exactly what he did, and can I share something with him? And she said, sure, why not? So I said, what were you thinking when you were skiing down the hill? He said, well, I was looking at the girl, and I was trying to avoid her. And as you were getting closer to her, what were you looking at? Well, I was looking at her. So I said, your skis will go wherever you focus on. And this is the same as life. Your life and your energy and your outcome will be whatever you're focused on. Okay? So if you're in the classroom telling yourself, well, I'm going to try this stuff, what's going to happen? You're going to be hesitating. You're not going to be sure. Your energy is not going to be that giant tower. It's going to be this little peep, 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 peep. And what are the students going to be doing? As usual, exactly. But if you go in there and you just do it, okay? So what I told him was, I said, focus on the area of the snow that's safe to ski on. And always, that's the only change that he needed. And every beginner skier does the same thing. As soon as they're going
Sure,
down...
and you really panic when,
Yeah.
when you see that
Someone.
maybe just one person on the
Right.
whole thing.
Right, and
produced-
what do? Like they're going like this, and you're going like this, and boom! It's like almost impossible to hit them, you know, because there's so much space, and yet that's what you're focused on, and that's where your skis will go into that. And it's just such a simple change, and here's the change. Focus on where you want to be. Because the brain is searching for where to go. And if you're looking at someone, the brain is using, okay, well, I guess we want to go this way. No, you don't. You want to go that way. But even though consciously you know you're not supposed to hit that person, that's the most interesting thing there. And of course, when there's no one there, then there's that tree, and there's that snow thing, and there's all these other lovely things to run into. What if I hit the tree? Well, if you're focused on the tree, guess what's going to happen? That's exactly where you're going to go. So you focus on the snow that's safe and comfortable to ski on. You focus on the classroom being a safe, comfortable, enjoyable place to lead. To lead. And that's important, that last word. Focus on the classroom or the parent situation is a safe and comfortable place to lead. Because in the back of your mind, if you're saying, okay, I'm going to lead, I'm going to make my antenna really big now, and I know my outcome, I know my destination, and that little voice is saying, what if it doesn't work, what if it doesn't work, what if it doesn't work? Then you're only using, at most, half or a little more than half of your energy. At worst, you're using a tiny bit. Now, the number one rule of NLP is what happens when it doesn't work. What should you do? What if it doesn't work? What do?
You
Do something different.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, okay.
If this doesn't work,
Yeah,
what
but
do
I
you do?
thought that was-
Do something different. You know, if the butterfly thing doesn't work, what do? Do something different. If you do the same thing over and over again, and you're getting the same result over and over again, and there are no variations, then you know that's the wrong direction. That's wrong for that particular classroom. I mean, I think it's a great idea. I think it'll work, but in a particular classroom with a particular group of students, it may not work. And what happens when it doesn't work? Do something different. But the most important thing is do something different in here first. Be the leader. Be the alpha dog. Okay? Be the pack leader. And especially with children and pets, if you're walking a dog, the moment you feel afraid of that dog, the dog is going to either attack you or do whatever the heck it wants to do. But if you're confident, and sometimes it's just a thought pops into your mind, wow, this is working too well. What if it goes back to the old way? As soon as you do that, the dog is going to just start running all over the place. Like you
Well,
watch
I would
these
say
people.
the dog is easier to train than the boys.
Yeah. But it's the same principle.
Maybe.
It's the same principle. The principle is slow, specific conditioning. Okay, and we're going to get into the reward punishment thing in a second. I know this is also review, but that's, you know, also part of the behavior shaping. The first behavior and the most important behavior that you shape is your own. Okay, you have to be absolutely clear when you're in that classroom that there is only one pack leader. And if you see any other pack leaders start popping up, you go over there and in a very clear, direct way, you say, and you could even say it out loud, you could say, I'm the pack leader. And I'm bigger than you. You could say the same thing. I'm the pack leader and I'm bigger than you. And it's cold outside.
No, it's usually hot, but okay.
Well, there's no air conditioner outside. You see what I mean?
But when you say that, you should not have fear because he will sense it, you know.
If you're
Yes.
being clear
Yeah, they will.
in here, they will fall in line. If you're having doubts in here, they
Yeah,
will sense
they will
it
sense
and they will jump all over it.
First you shape your own behavior, that's what
Yes.
you said, right?
You shape your own behavior first, and step one is the parents, step two is yourself. Has to always be in that way. Because then you have a clear, precise, loving model to tap from, to access. So far, so good? Okay. So now we're going to do the behavior shaping part. And I know we've already done this with Annette, but this is very important. So you're going to take turns back and forth. Now, here's the way it works. Two things with behavior don't work. Reward and punishment. They don't work. They do not work. Conditioning works.
We didn't do it actually very much.
Right.
We didn't.
That's the rest of what we're doing today. Reward and punishment do not work. Now here's why. When you punish a behavior, see what's the difference between punishment and negative reinforcement?
Something like rewards, like when you say, if you behave good, I'll give you chocolates. So
Okay,
then, like, it's
but
like
I wasn't
chocolates,
asking
yeah.
about rewards.
But that is kind of a reward, but that is not actually a reward in a sense, you know, in a true sense. It's kind of a punishment. You know? It's like
Chocolate is punishment?
in a sense, like we're
Not for
telling
me.
them. Not a punishment is kind of negative, you know, it's like you don't really want them to do chocolates all the time. But it's like when you start giving chocolate once, you know, once or twice, they expect from you. Yeah.
Right,
If I'm behaving,
Okay,
yeah,
but
I
we're
wanna get
not
chocolate.
talking
If I'm
about.
not getting chocolate, I'll not
We're not
behave.
talking
So it's
about,
like kind of it's
this
not
is exactly
fair.
what I'm talking about, okay? Reward and punishment doesn't work. I agree with you 100%. But my specific question is, what's the difference between punishment and negative reinforcement? What's the difference? What's the distinction?
That's what I was trying to make the point.
Okay.
So the chocolates it's not rewards, it's not punishment, it's like negative.
Right, but we're not talking about
Whatever
chocolates.
it is. I'm just giving an example. Just rewards, but it's
There's not much difference.
There's a big difference.
What is that?
There's
Okay.
a very specific difference.
Punishments and others.
What's the difference between punishment and negative reinforcement? What's the
What is
difference?
negative reinforcement, for example?
For example, if okay, here I'll give you an example. This is what you're going to do with each other later. May I move this?
Sure.
Okay. Put your feet up. Now I want you to leave them up for at least 1 minute. Okay? Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Put your feet down.
I don't know.
Put your feet down.
I'm not going to.
Put your feet down. Put your feet down.
You told me to put my feet out for 1 minute. It's not like no.
Put your feet down.
Okay. Whatever you say.
Now,
Whatever
that's,
you say.
that
Whatever you say.
is
That's
neg-
being strict. You're getting
no,
strict
no,
with
no,
me.
no, no.
Oh, okay.
I was demonstrating negative reinforcement.
And that's what I'm saying. You're like,
While your feet were up,
yeah.
I was saying, put your feet down.
Yeah.
I was negatively reinforcing this behavior. And even though I asked you to leave them up for 1 minute, it felt very uncomfortable, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt very uncomfortable. So, that's negative reinforcement.
Okay. Then,
Now I'll
yeah.
show you punishment. Put your feet up. You put your feet up, you're not having any ice cream tonight. I told you never to do that, now you're not having ice cream tonight. Okay, that's
But
punishment.
Both is like, it is
That's
a
punishment. No.
And
The first one was negative reinforcement.
It was like a punishment because you
You-
were being so strict
because-
and I was like scared,
Because
I
of
was
what you were feeling, because
Yeah.
there was a conflict,
Yeah.
okay? So, when you're with your children, your students, you have to have that energy really high, okay? Because there's some stuff inside there that is, very shy and very kind of reserved. And, I felt that a lot when I said, put your feet down. Okay.
But the thing
Okay.
is like, when,
Annette didn't have that problem.
No, I can be very naughty. But
Yeah,
I think it's also
But,
maybe a
wait,
cultural
okay.
thing.
Time out,
when
time
you
out.
have to be
Time
very
out, time out.
strong.
Time out. Time out. What was the difference? Okay, that was negative reinforcement, and then that was punishment. So what's the difference between those two?
Like when you're
Yeah.
when you're giving out being negatively reinforced whatever
Mhm.
it is with children,
Right.
they're being very confident, very strong.
Okay.
And then
Yeah, but you're not
punishment,
having-
you're
okay.
You're not
losing your
having this
anger,
punishment.
you're losing your emotions.
Okay.
And like you're getting angry and
Okay.
like you're
Put your feet up one more time. I'm sorry. Just one more time. Okay. I see your feet are up, and now tonight you're not getting any ice cream. So get your feet down. Okay. Okay, so now I took out the emotional part of that. So now what's the
thing
difference?
is you're talking to me, you're telling me
Mhm.
that that's what you're going to do if I don't follow you.
Right,
So that doesn't really
It's
not
a
that
punishment, you don't get
It's a
ice cream.
punishment,
Right.
but the thing is the way you say it.
no ice cream, okay, you're not gonna have any ice cream,
But if
and
you're
you're not
strict
gonna
with
have
me, yeah.
any TV tonight, and you can't go near your
I don't
computer
care. I
for
don't
3 days.
I don't care.
Okay,
The difference is the way you say it, if you're strict with me, like you're not going to watch TV tonight.
no,
You're
it's,
very strict with me
it,
then.
there was a difference in the way I said it, and I apologize, I should not have put a difference in there. But the second time I was trying to be as even toned as possible, because the difference is not my tone of voice, the way I delivered it. I'm asking you to think about the difference between the punishment of no TV tonight, and and you have to take out the garbage for like the next 3 months,
But this, yeah.
What's the difference between that and put your feet down, put your feet down, put your feet down?
You're controlling them.
No,
Just-
but don't analyze
If you're
those
not
things.
punishing them, you're not. I'm not going to be.
Do you see the difference?
You don't analyze, what you
Do
need
you,
to do.
do you see the difference?
Yeah,
I mean, I'll tell you
I-
the answer.
Yeah.
I was hoping you'd be
What
guessing, but I'll tell you the answer.
Reinforcement means you keep on repeating and repeating, and then you're not, okay.
But you're using the positive tone when you're negatively reinforcing.
No, not in positive tone, but an even tone, and not
Okay.
emotional tone.
Right.
then.
And
But
it's positive, right? It's
But
not,
when
you're not
the
using
second time I
negatively.
did the second time I did the negative the punishment,
Punishment is more
Uh,
negative.
right, but I was being very even toned the second time, so I was trying to even that out, because
Yeah,
that's not
okay.
the difference. What is the basic conceptual difference between a punishment, however it's delivered, and between negative reinforcement, however it's delivered? What's the basic difference?
You're more confident when you're negatively reinforcing your children. You're more confident in yourself.
No, I mean there's no
That's what I feel.
no punishment in negative reinforcement. I mean,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
should
Yeah,
I
there is no
explain
Right,
that?
so
punishment and
what's
you're
the
being
That's not the.
confident.
Okay, okay, I'll tell you.
The difference is that it's not as intimidating in a way.
Yeah, but
Yes,
you're,
it is, it is.
you're
You're
bringing
not
your own energy into
intimidating
the
the
word
children.
punishment. Okay, I'll tell you the difference.
Yeah. Okay.
The only difference is time. That's the only difference.
Time.
The only difference is time. Okay, watch. Take your feet down, take your feet down, take your feet down. And then it stops. Negative reinforcement is only done when the behavior you want to change is occurring. Punishment always happens after the behavior happened. So the brain can't link them. See? What you want to change is the subconscious mechanisms that's creating the behavior. If you punish a kid by telling him sit in the corner now and stare at the wall or something like that, right? That's punishment, but that's not happening while he's doing the bad behavior. It happens after. Same thing is positive reinforcement and reward. Reward generally happens after the fact. Positive reinforcement happens during the fact. So like if you had a dog, right, and you tell the dog sit up, the dog sits up and you give him a cookie. You say lie down, he lies down, you give him a cookie, right?
And you have to kind
Now,
of quick because otherwise.
Can you imagine, you tell your dog sit up, your dog sits up eventually, and then later that day you give him,
No.
it doesn't work. Same thing with children. The problem is, just like you said with the chocolate, if you give a reward, the moment you stop the reward, the behavior stops. Not true with positive reinforcement. So the good kids, and the easiest reinforcement is attention. Okay?
So what you did just before it was negative reinforcement.
Just
Positive.
negative reinforcement.
What is positive reinforcement?
Okay.
So what's the difference between-
Hey, thanks for keeping your feet down. Appreciate it. See? Simple. Very simple. Okay?
What do you call that? Positive reinforcement.
Positive reinforcement.
Yeah. All right.
Now, the easiest way,
I can see.
now, here's a secret way of creating behavior change in adults without letting them know. When they do something that you don't like, before you respond, make a delay. Like if they ask you a question or something, if they ask you in the wrong tone of voice, you answer, but you delay. And it could only be a fraction of a second. But if you put a little delay in there, they feel uncomfortable for a little bit. Then, if they say it again in the same tone of voice, you put another delay. And then if they say it in a good tone of voice, you respond right away. So that's secret positive and negative reinforcement that you could do with children, adults, your boss. It doesn't matter.
Can I get the first part again, please?
Sure. Okay. Tell me how this feels. I want you to yell at me to do something.
Go walk the dog.
Okay. How did that feel?
And I don't have to do it. No.
But I mean, the delay part, did you feel
Ah.
uncomfortable for a second there? A little uncomfortable?
I felt maybe challenged.
Okay. So challenge is a little uncomfortable, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's annoying.
Yeah,
Now,
it's annoying,
now,
like-
now ask me in a nice tone of voice.
Will you please take the dog out?
Sure. Now, notice the difference between those two. Now, that's not something that you could challenge me with and yell at me about because there was only a tiny little delay. But you could begin shaping people's behaviors with just that little delay. And it doesn't even have to be like, you know, when they're talking to you, like you could like turn away from them a little bit, or look a little to their side, and not give them that attention. And then when they're good, you give them the attention. And then when they're doing something bad, you don't look at them, and they're doing something good, then you look at them. So again, it's these little bitty things of positive and negative reinforcement. It doesn't have to be a big deal. Okay? So, so Ruby's gonna act up a little bit, and you're gonna be really good. Okay? So I'm walking around the classroom. Well, you have to act up a little bit.
What do you mean by act up? Get angry?
Just make a noise.
Just, okay.
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 Are you hypnotizing us?
That's good enough.
Are you hypnotizing us?
You can just relax.
She's listening to you.
So I'm leading her,
Just
and
telling
I'm giving a little negative reinforcement because I'm asking her to do something she's not doing. Okay? Or, you know, I could say, like, if she keeps doing something, then I'll say, you know, like, you know, if I say, okay, put your pen down. Okay, hold your pen. Okay. Put your pen down. And then if she doesn't do it, I'll just keep repeating, put your pen down, put your pen down. So holding the pen is making her feel a little uncomfortable. And when she puts it down, I say, thanks. That's it. There's no reward, there's no punishment. There's just positive reinforcement when she puts it down, and negative reinforcement when she doesn't. So then I'm walking around the classroom, I say, good work. I see you're taking excellent notes. Great. Oh, I see you're taking good notes too. Good. Excellent. See? There's no big reward, but it's just a little positive reinforcement. Now, the kids that are getting the positive reinforcement will continue to do what they're doing. The ones that are getting negative reinforcement are going to slowly start to shape into going with the flow. Because you're the alpha. You are the team leader. You're the pack leader. And if you go around with that energy that you know they're going to do the behavior you want, you know they're going to stop the behavior you don't want. Because if they're acting up, if they're doing something bad, and you tell them what you want them to do, or you tell them if they're doing something really bad, stop doing it. You say, stop doing it, stop doing it. Okay? Eventually they're going to stop. Okay? So now I want you to practice.
That takes a lot of time.
And
A lot of effort, a lot of energy.
okay, now what's more time, effort, and energy?
Yeah.
Shaping their behavior, and after the initial work, walking into the classroom, everyone lines up, everyone sits quietly, everyone listens to what you say. They get a lot more value from what you're teaching. Or not doing the initial work and forcing them and trying to get them to behave the rest of the year. It is a lot of energy in the beginning because you're not shaping them, you're shaping yourself. Because what children are going to do is they're going to start challenging you right away. Okay? So, what I want the two of you to do now, by the way, is it okay if we run a little bit late? Do either one of you have like an emergency train or something you
I
have to
hope
take?
not.
Okay.
Never
Well,
know.
no, I just want to, well, you're driving, so there's no problem. But you're okay staying a little bit late?
Okay.
It is
Yeah.
quite
10,
far,
15
no?
minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually it takes like
Because
one and a
we
half
started
hours.
late anyway, so.
Oh, this-
1.5 hours?
This from here to Town.
To Fanling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm like basically morning at
Yeah.
6.
Okay, well,
So it's
if you need to leave, you know, just say, Gene, I need to leave now. That's no problem. Okay, so, what I want the two of you to do, first Annette, I want you to put your feet up, and V, I want you to give negative reinforcement for her to put them down, and then positive reinforcement when she does. I want you to feel what that's like, and it's better to stand up. Okay?
Can you put your feet down?
And she's going to play the Morton.
You have to get into his psyche.
Yeah.
Yeah, that shouldn't be too hard.
Can you put your feet
Wait,
down?
stop.
Like that?
How are you going to be standing like? It's never gonna work, it's never gonna work, it's never gonna work, it's never gonna work. Okay, first of all, align yourself. Get your energy way up here, and in your mind, say to yourself, this is just a behavior change. Unfortunately, people start making judgments about the people who aren't listening to us. Oh, and we also make excuses for them, don't we? This is what, oh, well, they're not going to move their leg because it's more comfortable. Now, how is that going to help changing this behavior if you're making excuses for them? Well, the kids are obviously going to be like that because they're just kids. They don't know any better. Well, if you're already knowing that they're going to do that behavior, what are the possibilities of you changing that behavior? Not too good. So you have to be very clear that it's simply a matter of time and patience, and the behavior will change. So you're saying to yourself, in your mind, as you approach, it's time and patience, and they will change. They will change. And if you know that in your heart, guess what? People can see your picture. Okay? If you walk up to a salesperson, or if you're a salesperson and you walk up to a customer and you say, oh God, this customer is so stupid, they're asking the wrong questions all the time. Here's that same stupid customer again. And no matter how polite and nice you are to them, they feel stupid. Because they can see your picture. Even if you don't change a word you're saying, don't change the way you're standing, even whatever, if you're thinking something about someone, they will feel at least a little part of it, and possibly a big part. If you're walking a dog, the moment you become a little intimidated and afraid, the dog is going to turn on you. Same thing with a child. If you feel that the child is, might start getting out of hand, what's going to happen? The child is going to start getting out of hand. Because you're already allowing him to do that by knowing he's going to do it. So the first thing you do is you align yourself with your outcome. You set your goal, that's where I'm sailing to. The wind shifts, I don't care. Well, I'm going to adjust, I'm going to move my tiller, and I'm getting to that destination. Okay, that's step one, and that has to be step one. Okay, so shape some behavior. And this is a great way to stand, by the way. Very good. I mean, you see the difference. That her shoulders, suddenly she's really present.
You're in
Do you
control.
feel different now that she's standing like this about your legs being up?
Can you feel the
From
difference?
before?
Can you feel the difference?
Yeah, I can see the difference,
Right.
but I don't feel different.
Because
You feel it
your
now.
feet are up, you don't feel a little difference? Having your feet up in front of her when she's standing like this?
Put
She's-
your feet down.
Ah, wait a
Can
minute.
you
Okay,
feel it?
so, first of all, it's never a question. It's always what you want them to do. Because can you put your feet down? Why are your feet up? These are all invitations to dialogue. And you're not
don't want to-
here for dialogue. You're here to change a specific behavior. You're here to do negative reinforcement. And negative reinforcement is always an even tone because you know they're going to do it in your heart. You know in your mind, in your heart, you see, you can make a picture that their feet are down. Okay? So you just calmly say, put your feet down.
Put your feet down.
No,
Put your feet down.
no.
It always has to be like a tape recorder. Listen to me. No. Okay. It's good. Put your feet down. Put your feet down. Put your feet down. See what I'm doing? I'm always using the same tone of voice. And I may vary a tiny bit, but less variance is better. Because if they think that you're going to crack and you're going to get emotional, then they're going to play that. They want you to be emotional because then they can get away with whatever they're going to get away with. But if you're clear and you know they're going to do it, they eventually will do it. So, go for it.
Put your feet down.
Perfect.
Should I?
Put your feet down. Put your feet down. Put your feet down. Put your feet down. Put
You
your
can try
feet down.
pointing too.
Put your feet down. Put your feet down.
Good.
Put your feet down. Put your feet down.
Put down your feet.
No.
I'm just
Listen,
trying
okay,
to be
now,
my
wait.
son because it.
Wait.
No.
Stand up. You back down. You were doing very well. You were doing very well. But listen. She's being a very good subject because people will do that. But if you watch her face and observe, she was not feeling as good about her feet being up towards the end,
No.
right?
True.
Okay? So she was already starting to change. She was no longer happy about having her feet up. She was in the beginning.
No, my leg is starting to
Oh.
cramp.
Well,
Whatever the reason, you put your feet down.
exactly.
Okay.
See? So it's important while you're doing this to be absolutely clear and to have an even tone the whole time. Because, okay,
What you want to get out of it, what you want.
right, and you just see that outcome. You know, like when you're walking down the street and the traffic light is way over there and you say, oh God, that's such a long way. It's longer, isn't it? When you're just walking along, all of a sudden the traffic light's like 3 blocks back and it's like, wow, that was quick. But when you say, oh my God, that's such a long way, oh my God, look how tiny that traffic light is, so far away, oh my God, you know, it's like you're walking backwards. So if you know it's going to happen, and you're focused on it's going to happen, and you have that in your energy, you already see it, and it becomes easier for you. It takes practice, and it works. Okay, so now we're going to practice with me. Why don't you sit in my chair?
I
Because
think with children it will be easier. Your
No,
children,
it's easier or
yes.
difficult.
If you say put your
Okay,
feet down, you know, younger.
Yeah,
You're up.
they do, but they're difficult.
I'm
No
okay.
but. No but.
Put your feet down.
I don't feel like it.
Put your feet down.
Why should I?
Put your feet down.
I have my feet down before. I like them like this.
Put your feet down.
Why do you want me to do that?
Put your feet down.
Now, do you see? I'm trying to engage her. I'm trying to play my little games.
Talk.
And she's keeping exactly the same tone of voice. And she's keeping exactly the same attention. You can do the thing with the finger as well. Okay?
Yeah, I have
You
that
know-
thing with fingers, but okay.
Okay, well, if that doesn't feel good, then don't do it. But sometimes just doing this,
Yeah, okay.
you know, because they know that they're not supposed to do it, and you're pointing it out, and they're seeing it, and they're hoping you go away, but you're not.
Sure.
And they're still hoping you go away, and you're still not. And eventually, I'm just going to want to move my legs, no matter how much I know I shouldn't. You see what I mean? Okay, Ruby, your turn.
My feet up.
No, come here.
Put your feet down. Put your feet down.
The chair's already dirty. It doesn't matter.
Put your feet down.
It doesn't matter.
Put your feet down.
It's very comfortable this way.
Put your feet down.
But I like it.
Come on, put your feet down. Put your
Ah,
feet down.
you said, come on. put
Ah,
your
no,
feet
come
down."
on, no begging. Okay.
Right. No begging.
No
begging.
begging.
You take
No
your
begging.
feet down.
It's put
Yeah.
your feet down.
Yes, put your feet.
Okay. See, now I want to.
You did it good.
I want to. Because she's not giving me any other choice. There's no
You get
other
tired.
possibilities.
But Ruby is also smiling.
That's okay.
Is it?
You know, it's not
With
best.
her, with him.
Yeah.
So with
because
other
we're-
people. I have been tested. Some people test me. Is
Yeah.
Ruby going to crop? They test me. People come in and they test me.
Yeah.
Okay.
But with your students, I think it will be easy because they are still young, easy to shape.
Is the difference in the different, I don't know how many groups of you have Chinese, maybe Western children, Indian
all
children?
Chinese.
All Chinese. Okay. Because I see a very big difference. My two sons are or they're all in international schools, but they're on ESF now. And I can see a difference in the attitude from the different groups. It's so clear.
It is.
And generally Indian children are very well behaved.
Yeah.
They're very disciplined. And they're so, makes them
Because
so
of the
easy to
culture,
work
yeah.
with also.
Because Indian parents, I think they are very strict.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They're very strict.
Yeah.
and they're also very strict with the girls.
Yeah.
So you have to pretend, okay, you have to bring along those other reinforcing happy parents when you're standing there saying, put your feet down, or whatever behavior change you're going for. You have to have all that energy lined up in you. And it's a practice. You have to do it over and over again until you feel that energy in your body. If you're standing over someone, okay, and you feel the energy, and it's not like, you know, it's just like, I know you're going to follow me. I know you're going to follow me. And that's what you're thinking. It's just a behavior change. It's not that they're good or bad. It's not that I'm a good or bad parent or good or bad teacher, or there's no good or bad. Forget about good or bad. This change will happen. And if you're absolutely clear with that, in your mind, in your body, in your physiology, even without saying anything, just walking in the room and stepping up to someone, they'll be good. And they don't know why necessarily, but they will go into alignment because they feel now that you are suddenly and unexpectedly the team leader. You are now suddenly and unexpectedly and comfortably the alpha, the pack leader. And if you're the alpha pack leader, when you're standing there comfortably, because you're not off balance, not worried someone's going to do something, you're standing there absolutely clear, absolutely grounded with your energy and antenna up here, transmitting to everyone. And it'll be so easy to teach them that way. Because they'll just want information from you because you are the pack leader. And they want to feed, they want to know how to be the pack leader. They want to know how can I be like her? You see, I want to be like her. Whatever she's doing, I'm going to do it because that's how I want to be. I want to walk into a room and have everyone line up, so I'm going to listen to her. Maybe when they go somewhere else, they're then going to try those things, but it doesn't matter. That's not your problem. But more likely, when you're shaping this behavior, that shaping will then follow them the rest of their life, in fact. I mean, this is a change that you could be making for these people that literally is changing the world. You know, because they'll say, well, listen, you know, I don't have to make a big deal. I don't have, here's what I want, and this is what's going to happen.
And they are learning a lot by our example.
Right, they follow
Like we
us,
picked
yeah.
up from our parents, they're going to, or parents or teachers, they're going to pick it up.
Thank you.
Have you ever encountered experience when you are dealing with one child, and then there are also two, three students very, very naughty?
Yeah, like when one child is naughty, you know, the rest of the class gets naughty.
Right.
Oh,
Because they're following
Following the
They're following
that.
the
Okay,
pack
so
leader.
once
It
you,
is
okay,
very
So now that you are the pack leader,
yeah, I
okay,
think you
and
do
now that you have this new experience from your past, now that you know new ways how to handle your energy, you can be the pack leader with your boys and with yourself, okay, and with your students, because you know absolutely what you want, and you know that it's going to come. You know that you're going to get it, and they will follow along. It's simple. No trying.
Oh, yeah.
I thought
Okay,
about
They
and-
will, they will.
And what are you going to do if that doesn't work?
Do something else.
Exactly.
Do
So you
something
know
else.
you're going to get this outcome. And if I try it this way and it doesn't work, well, I'm going to try another way. If that doesn't work, I'm going to try another way. Today I walked here from Quarry Bay, right? Like I told you before. So like I'm trying to figure out which of these streets is going to go up the top of the mountain. You know, instead of walking all the way around this way, you know, I want to climb up the mountain and then come down again because it's a shorter distance and it's more fun. You get to see a different part of something, right? So I tried one street and that didn't work. So I said, oh, nothing worked. That's chunking up to say, I'm generalizing that none of the roads are gonna, no. I said, well, that one didn't work. Let me try another one. That one didn't work. Let me try another one. And suddenly I found the staircase, and all these kids are walking down, these students are walking down the stairs. I'm like, well, they're coming from somewhere. I don't see a school here, so this must go to something. I don't know what it goes to, but I'll try that. And if that didn't work, I would have tried something else. So I knew